The remover of obstacles, the deity whom worshippers first acknowledge when they visit a temple, Ganesh. Statues of Ganesh can be found in most Indian towns. His image is seated at the location of new homes, honored at the start of a journey or business venture, and poets traditionally invoke Ganesh at the start of a book. Ganesh is usually depicted colored red, with a large round belly, has one tusk broken, and has 4 arms that may hold a pasam, a gourd, and a pot of rice, or sweetmeats. The sweetmeats are contained in a bowl known as a ladus. His appetite for these sweets is legendary, and offerings of them are often left at his shrine. As far as any skills or abilities that could be related to this, there could be a more comedic buff or debuff associated with this. Maybe Ganesh will feast upon his treats of sweet meat, healing himself, and Hi-Rez hasn't exactly shunned self-heals so far. In fact, they just buffed Hercules's. A pasam is a mighty triple twine weapon, similar to Poseidon's trident, though smaller. Each twine for this specific pasam represents arrogance and conceit. The second represents Maya, the illusionary nature of the real world, and the third, ignorance. He could very well be a ranged guardian or mage, as demonstrated fairly nicely by Poseidon. This weapon is quite versatile. I doubt that we'll actually see any skewer style moves from this weapon unless Hi-Rez adapts it into a full-blown polearm, but it may put some sort of debuff on the enemy, something along the lines of a slow or protection shred or decrease, maybe even summoning an illusionary of the god targeted and having the clone attack the god. Of course, this would be an enemy god, showing them their arrogance or ignorance, so maybe putting another debuff on them, as well as the illusionary, or copy of the god rather. Gourds, or elephant prods, are typically used to direct elephants. Gourds are symbolic of how one should steer the soul away from the ignorance and illusions of this earthly world, just as a mount would steer an elephant away from any treacherous path. In Hindu ideology, weapons are viewed as a symbolic tool to destroy the ego, rather than to cause any type of bloodshed. Again, this points to some sort of debuff and could also act as a CC cleanse as well. If Ganesh is released as a guardian, maybe we'll see some sort of strong focus on debuffing or weakening the enemy, whilst enlightening and empowering his allies. With this vast knowledge, he would achieve victory through enlightenment. Ganesh has quite a round belly, usually bound around with a cobra. Cobra is an animal usually associated with Shiva, a reminder that Ganesh is his son. Ganesh is usually shown in sculptures accompanied by or riding a rat, since rats are seen as being capable of gnawing their way through most things. The rat symbolizes Ganesh's ability to destroy any and every obstacle. Could we see the rat as an in-game pet? Quite frankly, rats are disgusting, in my opinion, and that's the end of the discussion. I'd like to think that Hi-Rez would avoid putting such creatures in Smite, but it could act as some sort of mount or escape skill for Ganesh. If not, then a high-ticking damage skill, similar to maybe some of Gubas's abilities, or even a cripple or immobilize of some kind. Though that's enough on the rats. In sculpture, the position of Lord Ganesh's trunk has a symbolic meaning. If the trunk turns to Ganesh's left, that is direction for success in the world. It is a position associated with the grihatas, or householders. To his right, the trunk represents moksha, good for renouncing the world. So maybe this could be linked to Ganesh's passive in some way. Maybe the direction that he's facing will determine what kind of buff he'll receive. As to what kind of buff, I'm not sure. I'm thinking some form of HP5 or MP5 aura, though I'm not too sure. And of course, this would be relatively difficult to control in a fight. Or, well, if you're standing around passively, I suppose it's not too bad. You just face a certain direction, though of course you'd never want to face away from your opponent. So it'll be interesting if this is going to have some association with Ganesh's passive, how Hi-Rez intends to incorporate it into the game. Ganesh is often displayed playing a musical instrument, like a Krishna. Much like Krishna, Ganesh affirms life by celebrating its pleasures and beauty. If used in-game, this could act as a lifesaver style skill. I'm thinking a form of stun, a knockback, or an immobilize, but it could also be some form of heal as well. I keep coming back to heals as a possibility for Ganesh, so he could very much be that type of support, but we'll have to wait and see. We haven't had a healer in the game since Terra, I believe? So, of course Terra wasn't that far away, but you get the point. Now that you know a bit about Ganesh, let's get into the story of his creation. One day, goddess Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, was getting ready for her bath and needed someone to guard her chamber. Therefore, she made a beautiful young boy from sandalwood from her body. She gave him life by sprinkling the holy Ganges water on him and entrusted him with guarding the door. While she was away, Lord Shiva returned and was surprised to find a little boy standing at the entrance to his wife's chamber. When he tried to enter, the boy blocked his path. "Who are you? Why are you blocking my path?" demanded Lord Shiva. "No one enters my mother's chamber," declared the boy. Taken aback, Lord Shiva replied, "Step away. I have the right to enter my wife's chamber." But the young and courageous boy did not move, and stood his ground. Not knowing that this was his own son, Lord Shiva, who was quick to anger, grew enraged, not used to being disobeyed, and cut off the boy's head. Goddess Parvati was returning from her bath, saw her son lying dead, and was overcome with grief. She was filled with both anger and sorrow. Seeing this, Lord Shiva sent his soldiers to fetch the head of the first beast that they saw. The men rushed and finally came upon an elephant. They immediately took the head to Lord Shiva, who quickly attached it onto the body of the slain boy and gave him life once again. To further appease his grief-stricken wife, he promised that her son would be worshipped first before all other gods. Even today, at the entrance of all temples, one would find the idol of the elephant-headed god, Lord Ganesh. Ganesh's name literally means Lord of Gana. Ganesh was entrusted by Shiva with the leadership of the Ganas, Shiva's dwarfish, rowdy advisors, in compensation for the loss of his head. This is likely to make it into Hyrus' overview of Ganesh's lore, the general consensus being that this is how Ganesh lost his trunk. There are many variations of how the great Lord Ganesh lost his trunk. The two that we will cover both suggest that when finally released, Ganesh will be some sort of tank. Maharishi Vedvyas was instructed to write the epic by the gods, and sought to employ the most knowledgeable being in the known universe. Lord Brahma advised Vedvyas to visit Lord Shiva and requested his son's aid. Ganesh, however, agreed with the understanding that he would leave should the entire epic not be recited in one attempt, without pauses. With this, Vedvyas imposed a clause of his own, stating that Ganesh must understand every verse before penning it down. With ease, the Lord Ganesh had penned down the sacred hymns before the sage had even thought of the next. Not even his pen could keep up with his great speed, which began to fade away. Acknowledging his previous condition, and unaware of any other alternative, without hesitation, Ganesh ripped his mighty tusk out of his head and continued recording the epic. As you can tell from that pretty hardcore display, Ganesh takes pride very seriously, and being honored with the title of most knowledgeable being in the universe leads me to believe that he'll either be a bulky mage, in the same vein that you could consider Zhong Kui or Hades, maybe with melee capabilities, or ranged capabilities. If he is going to be a mage, then there's a good chance that Hyrus will refer to the story in his lore. This story of how Ganesh lost his trunk is the more widely agreed upon way in which he actually lost it, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that Hyrus will use this story if he is to be a guardian. His parents were asleep in their palace, and Ganesh refused to allow anyone entry in the event that they may be engaged in amorous activities. When Parashuram defeated his foe of Karatavri and his allied kings, he wished to give his thanks to Shiva for bestowing upon him the power to complete his task. Onward he travelled to the Mount Kailash to pay his respects, But he was halted by Ganesh, who denied his entry. In frustration, a fight broke out between the two, and Ganesh was winning the bout until Parashuram threw his axe, which was a gift from Shiva. Understanding the significance of the gift, he selflessly refused to let the weapon be used in vain. His left tusk was decapitated by the axe, which fell to the ground covered in blood. As a guardian, he could have a skill which allows him to ignore damage for a certain amount of time, and as a mage this would grant him a power buff which would increase depending on how much damage he would receive. I could also see this used as a passive ability, granting him more damage resistance as either the game progresses or for however much damage he receives at a certain amount of time. He could even see a reversal of Vamana's passive, whereby he converts magical protections into power, or maybe vice versa, turning power into protections. It would be quite fitting for him. Regardless of this, we'd better enjoy this Hindu god whilst he's here, as I doubt that Hi-Rez will be including another one for quite a while. Thank you, Gali. At least, that's the only reason why I would assume that they wouldn't want to be releasing too many Hindu gods. We only have 7 Hindu gods in the game, even though they were among the earliest pantheons to be released in the game. With that, we've reached the end of the video. What do you think of Ganesh? What kind of skills do you think he'll have? And do you think I'm completely wrong? Do you think he could be a warrior, assassin, or hunter, as well as either a guardian or a mage? Be interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video and feel like it deserves it, please leave a like, as it does help me out a lot. And if you're new here and you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I've got a Kurnos lore video, and I have a Morrigan lore video, as well as a video for Kuzenbo, King of the Kappa, so feel free to check out any of those. And until the next video, have a good day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.